Is it realistic to build a 7-figure one-person business and a 7-figure business working just 4 hours per day?
I got from 0 to 100K a month as one person. Why can't I work 4 hours a day if that's a thing?
Well, Dan Koe has done just that through amassing a significant social media presence and selling digital products to generate $100,000 per month and go from 0 to 3.3 million in less than 3 years.
This year, I am at 1.8 million.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this because I work for Empire Flippers, which is a brokerage and a marketplace that helps people to sell and buy online businesses. And over the past few years, I've seen under the hood of hundreds of businesses ranging from 5 to 8 figures in valuation. So in this video, I want to compare his advice with the hundreds of businesses that I've worked with and offer my takeaways for you as someone who also seeks business success and wants to know exactly what actually works. So with that said, let's start with a breakdown of Dan's revenue streams that contribute to him making that $100,000 per month. First, he has his 3 digital products, and the first being a paid community for kind of general business and lifestyle information. And then he has 2 courses that teach specific business skills like creative writing and personal branding to sell products. Now, he also is co-owner of an animations agency and offers brand consulting services. But from what I understand, the brand consulting and the owning the animation agency came after hitting the $100,000 per month mark, and is also the point where he had to expand his team. So I'm going to speak mostly to that first part, the digital product part, as that's I think where most of Dan's advice is about. So my first takeaway about Dan's business model is about being strong in driving traffic and creating compelling products. One thing I think Dan did really well that led to everything else in his business was establishing a successful and ongoing traffic plan, and then combining that with compelling products, a compelling offer. So at the start of his business, to drive traffic, he built an audience through Twitter and then used that to grow his audience on YouTube and other social channels. He then used the social platforms kind of synergistically to find what kind of short form content performed well to justify expanding that into long form content on YouTube. And he used this method to really accelerate the growth of his social presence and his personal brand. And he used this platform as kind of a launching pad for selling his digital products, which are more like educational products that are like in-depth and actionable versions of his free content. So his product and his traffic are tied very closely together. And I think this demonstrates that it's really important to have both a strong traffic and product game. In one of my other videos, I mentioned that building an online business will come down to defining 1, what you will sell, and 2, how you will drive relevant traffic to the thing that you're selling, and then 3, of course, how you'll do that or sell it profitably. So you have 2 major pillars to address with your business model, which are traffic and product. And a lot of people will have a clear answer or a strong leaning towards one of those pillars. For example, let's talk about e-commerce businesses. Let's say you're focused on e-commerce, but only Amazon FBA, and you're focused only on getting traffic through Amazon. So you might be super focused on making the product, but not actually having an answer to traffic and just kind of hoping that you'll get sales from Amazon traffic. Whereas if you built an e-commerce business where you're also doing DTC, which is direct to consumer, you're figuring out how to drive traffic through social channels, through ads, through maybe YouTube videos, pretty much figuring out how you'll build a profitable and repeatable sales funnel. So that's an example of an e-commerce business where there has been additional attention to the traffic side. Now, both types of e-commerce businesses do work, but there are definitely weaknesses when it comes to having an e-commerce business that has no real control of its traffic. And then another example is content sites. So just as you can be too one-sided towards product, there's also the flip side where you can be all in on the traffic generation side and missing out on opportunities to address the product side. For example, if you're running a content site that's monetized entirely through display advertising versus a strategy where someone owns a content site, builds up the monthly traffic, and then they put their own physical and digital products on that site. Again, both business models do work, and some choose to go the simpler route, and that's fine. But I'd say say this is one of those differences between the 6-figure compared to the 7-figure businesses on our marketplace. The 6-figure being good at one pillar and the 7-figure being good at both. Now you might be thinking that a 7-figure business sounds much more complex compared to a 6-figure business. It can, but a larger business doesn't always mean more complexity. I've seen 7-figure businesses on the marketplace that take 10 hours or less of the owner's time. And Dan also talks about how he currently spends no more than 4 hours per day on his business.
You're serious that you're only working 4 hours a day?
Guaranteed,
Every day?
yeah.
How many days a week?
7.
Which leads to the next question, which is it a realistic goal to build a 7-figure one-person business that requires you to work no more than 4 hours per day? So my real answer to this is that it depends. It depends on the type of business and the phase of your business. After Dan said that he spends no more than 4 hours per day running his business, he did follow up saying that he also walks 2 to 3 hours per day, which are his time for ideation, sending texts to employees or partners, listening to audiobooks, but that he doesn't consider that as work. Now, to Dan's credit, I also enjoy walking and ideation during walks, and I understand why he doesn't necessarily consider that as work, but put this in the context of you want to sell your business and you need to communicate to potential buyers, of course, how much the business makes, but also the things that this new owner will need to do once they take over the business. Now, in that scenario, when you're sending over the SOPs, the operations of all the activities involved in running the business, do you list the 4 hours per day? Or more accurate maybe is, would the buyer consider this 4 hours per day, since they're the ones who will need to be taking on these new tasks or hiring somebody to perform these same tasks? All to say, even if you don't plan to exit your business right now, getting into that mindset can be helpful in seeing how systemized and passive your business actually is if someone else were to take over the operations. Now, with that caveat in place, I will also say that yes, you can build a business that is more passive than another business generating that same amount of revenue. And one major factor is the business model that you decide to build. So going back to the concept of the 2 pillars, the traffic and product, the type of traffic channels and the type of product or service that you choose to make up the business will impact the passivity of your business. For example, Dan mentioned that he doesn't do sales outreach. Well, there are plenty of 7-figure businesses like agencies that do perform sales outreach. And maybe that traffic channel makes more sense for that specific type of business because the product or the service is a very expensive product or service. So when you choose what kind of business you want to build, you can choose to structure your business, choosing the traffic channels and the products in a way that would enable it to become more or less passive once it gets to a certain stage. And that's the last point of this, which is the stage of the business. Another major component of the passivity of your business is the phase that your business is in. Business that's full on in growth mode, launching products every month, adjusting processes, learning what works. That's a completely different experience compared to that same business 2 years later that's now in maintenance mode, making enough profit to pay a team to perform most of the operational tasks. So the host of this interview actually says that he's in completely the other side of the spectrum from owning a passive business currently, where he tries to maximize the number of hours he can work on this business in order to grow it. And I'd say that it comes down to the differences in the business model. Yes, but also the fact that Dan's business is now in a different phase compared to the interviewer's business. All to say, if you feel like you're working a lot to get your business up and running, it might be completely natural to feel that way and to be in that phase. But if you do find that even after your business is in maintenance mode and has been there for a while, and you're still spending as much time as you were when you were growing it, you may want to look at how to make areas of your business function without your direct input. So a couple takeaways to wrap this up. Make sure that your traffic and product pillars are both strong when setting up the pieces for your online business, and understand that you can build a more or less passive business based on your business model, but also that it's completely natural to be in a phase of your business that's far less passive. But through building your systems that replace certain tasks, you can build a business that can continue to thrive without you attending to every part of it, and have a business that you enjoy owning. And if you ever decide to sell, a business that a buyer would love acquiring. And hopefully you can also tell that there's a ton of opportunity in the online space, but taking advantage of opportunities requires understanding the online ecosystem. And one way you could do that easily is by signing up for our free weekly newsletter. It's called This Week in M&A, where we cover the largest events happening in the online business world on a weekly basis. So I'll leave a link to sign up for that below. And if you're interested in hearing about how serial entrepreneur Jesse Hanley is intentionally keeping his business smaller to maintain a life on his own terms, then click on the video here. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching.